This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, so following the fight camp announcement by Matchroom and Eddie Hearn as part of the DAZN UK debut, there seems to be a lot of people with a lot of opinions surrounding, is it worth it? How good is it? Etc, etc. Now, I know a lot of people are pointing out that it's £1.99, and of course you get all three of these cards within your £1.99 for the month DAZN subscription. Now, of course, you can't argue with that. £1.99 is an absolute steal. It is, okay? And I know a lot of people have criticised me as well, as per my previous video when I reviewed it all, and said that I'm some kind of Eddie Hearn hater, which is kind of unusual really, because usually I'm an Eddie Hearn fanboy, or I'm on the Eddie Hearn payroll, or whatever it may be. Listen, I don't have a problem with Eddie Hearn, okay? I have no issue with Eddie Hearn whatsoever. I don't think it's mutual, but I don't have a problem with him. But I can still critique, even though I think Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the world currently, and he does great for boxing. I really do, but that doesn't mean I can't critique, and that's exactly what it is I've done. And a lot of people are saying very, very similar things, because this is DAZN's UK debut. So kick it off with a splash, make a huge statement. We've had a few weeks worth of build up to this, where Eddie Hearn, he's saying how this is his card, this is something that he's been working on for the past few weeks. He's got a huge budget now, he doesn't have any kind of restrictions, and he keeps using the words game changed. Not game changing, but game changed. And of course, when you announce the fight camp cards, collectively it's underwhelming. But if you look at it for £1.99, just as that, of course, it's an absolute steal, isn't it? It's a bargain, of course it is. But again, if you look at it from the other perspective as well, £1.99, okay, well, first of all, that price will increase, and I've heard it's going to be about £5.99 per month. Again, it's still a very good bargain, isn't it? But a lot of people are still keeping Sky Sports because the football, because of rugby, because of cricket, because of WWE, whatever it is that you're keeping Sky Sports for. So now we're paying £1.99 per month, rising up to whatever it's going to be, on top of what we're already having to pay for Sky Sports, for content that we was already getting as per the package on Sky Sports. So it's £1.99 extra, really, isn't it, for content that we was already getting. But I think a lot of people were expecting something, especially for the opening show, for DAZN to make a huge statement. And to have, say, a main event, Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados, is very, very underwhelming. Now, if you want to have Conor Benn as the main event, that's cool. That's cool. But Adrian Granados is a poor choice. And I think a lot of people are looking at it as well, with Eddie Hearn saying how excited he was and he can't wait for it. This is cards that he's personally put down, because obviously he's writing it all down on his notepad and everything. People are worrying, saying, if you're excited about this, what about the other shows? What are we going to get going forward? Is it just going to go downhill? Because this is your big splash. This is where DAZN are supposed to make a statement to say, we are the platform to be on. Eddie Hearn has a huge stable of fighters, and to do an introductory show, it's not about the 3 fight cards, it's about the opening event. Because for me personally, and I think most of you as well, we could put together these 3 fight cards at probably a, well, I don't know, cheaper cost possibly, but more fan friendly. Fights where people go, oh, that's good, that's worth it, I'm excited about that. But to have an opening main event of Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados, I mean, if you used to look at, say, all 3 cards, you could certainly pick certain fights out. I mean, for me, I think Kid Galahad versus Jazza Dickens, that should be the opening show main event. On the undercard, and listen, you can have Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados, Boazzi versus Bolotniks, you can have McCarthy versus Bidham Smith, and so forth, okay? That would have been a great opening event card. But they've spread them across 3 events. Now, I don't think too many people have a problem with, say, Conor Benn being the headliner. I don't think people have a problem with that. But it's the opponent, Adrian Granados. Now, I called him a journeyman yesterday. That was a bit of a slip of the tongue. I didn't mean to call him a journeyman. Yes, he's a gatekeeper. But the problem is that it's not a good opponent. For me, it's a step backwards from Samuel Vargas, who Conor Benn fought last time. Don't get me wrong, this fight will last longer than the Samuel Vargas one. For sure it will. But Adrian Granados is not the kind of fighter that people are sitting around going, oh, I'd love to see Conor Benn fight him. Not one person out there was thinking that. Nobody. Because when you look at, say, Eddie Hearn's stable in himself, and of course DAZN stable, you can find a better opponent for Conor Benn. People aren't asking for Sean Porter or Keith Thurman or Errol Spence Jr. or Terence Crawford or whatever else. But of course, Eddie Hearn, himself, did mention the names of Conor Benn versus, say, Kell Brook or Conor Benn versus Amir Khan, and that before, and now you're giving us Adrian Granados. Because when you look at, say, the DAZN and Matchroom stable, you're looking at, say, Daniil Yulusinov. I think Conor Benn versus Daniil Yulusinov would be far more interesting than this fight. Conor Benn versus David Avanesian would have been a better main event. Conor Benn versus, say, Virgil Ortiz Jr. Okay, he's not a Matchroom fighter, but he's a Golden Boy fighter, but he's a DAZN fighter. Conor Benn versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. What's wrong with that? People would love that as a main event. That's the problem. People were expecting something bigger than what we got. If that makes sense. People were looking for something a bit more of a, this is DAZN breaking boundaries here. This is quite literally game changed. We're getting this as an opening main event. Fantastic. And it's not just a main event, but the card on that himself. For an opening show. It's very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. And nobody out there was asking for Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados. Conor Benn, no problem with him being the main event, but just give us a little bit of a better opponent. An opponent where people can buy into it. But of course, we understand why Eddie Hearn has done this for Adrian Granados. It's a win-win for him. Of course, he's going to want Conor Benn to win. Conor Benn to sign an extension of 5 years to his Matchroom contract. But if Conor Benn wins, great. We continue the momentum. We'll continue building him as a main event fighter and whatever else, okay? Because Eddie Hearn would love nothing more than for him to be a pay-per-view level fighter. But if somehow Adrian Granados wins, it's a win-win for Eddie Hearn as well. What? Because he's a Mexican-style fighter, okay? Not Mexican-style, but, sorry, he's a Mexican fighter. Whereas, if Adrian Granados wins, well, what's the other announcement from Eddie Hearn? Canelo is the other announcement for Eddie Hearn. And his partnership with Canelo putting on shows in Mexico. This is another fighter who defeated a Brit that they can put on their Mexican shows. It's a win-win for Eddie Hearn. That's why Adrian Granados is chosen here. That's why. It's got nothing to do with fan-friendly. And it is a little bit worrying that if he's excited about this particular main event, if he's excited about these fight cards and how this is game changed, well, what the hell are we going to get going forward? It's almost like he's forgotten his matchmaker. He's left him behind at Sky Sports or something. Because a lot of people who know Eddie Hearn, a lot of people who work with Eddie Hearn and that, have said Eddie Hearn doesn't know how to matchmake. He doesn't know it. A lot of people do the matchmaking for him. And he just gives like the green light. And then he goes and sells it and promotes it. So if he's doing it all himself, it's quite worrying. And especially for the opening, not just the main event, but the card itself. Don't get me wrong, I think Tommy McCarthy versus Crispin and Smith is a fantastic fight. I'm really looking forward to that one. But again, a lot of people don't like Shannon Courtney. Eddie Hearn don't want to hear that. But people don't like Shannon Courtney for the most part. They find her irritating. They think that she's up herself or whatever it may be. It could be further from the truth as to how she really is. People don't know. But what they see, it's almost like she's being pushed down people's throats. We don't want her. We're not interested in Shannon Courtney. Avni Yildirim is going to appear on this card. Ain't nobody out there want to see Avni Yildirim. After that shit show of a performance against Canelo, nobody wants to see him. But again, Eddie Hearn, because of him getting Canelo versus Avni Yildirim over the line, this was part of the deal. He's stuck with Avni Yildirim for at least another fight. Okay, well, let's just throw him on there. I'll tell you what, Jack Cullen, you want to fight him? There you go. It's just a thrown together fight. That's all it is. Sandy Ryan, of course, she's going to be making her professional debut. Campbell Hatton, of course, is going to be on there. Fowler versus Garcia. I'm not against that fight. This is a decent test for Anthony Fowler. Garcia has like 40-odd wins and about 5 losses or half dozen losses, something like that. So it's going to be a decent one. But again, there's other fighters out there. Anthony Fowler versus Kieran Conway. Why don't we get that one? I understand that we can't get Ted Cheeseman versus Anthony Fowler anymore because the British Box Border Control have ordered Ted Cheeseman to defend against Troy Williamson. Well, where's that fight? Where's that fight on this card? Or any of these cards? He's got a huge stable out there. And if this is the best that you can come out with, that's what people are worried about. £1.99 per month or not. That's the issue. I'll keep on going back to it. Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados is poor. Poor. Me and you, we could come out with 3 fight cards better than this at probably at a cheaper price, to be honest with you. But Eddie Hearn, he's got the blinkers on because this is going to be happening at his family home, the Matchroom headquarters as it is now. Of course, he's been putting on his own production team, his own commentary staff, his own pundits, and this, that, and the other. So he's got the blinkers on. He doesn't see anything outside of his little world, outside of his bubble. We do. It's the fight cards that are important to us. And the debut show should be something spectacular. It should be something that UK boxing fans are going to go with, oh, hell yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, £1.99, even if and when it rises to $5.99 or whatever the price is going to be per month for DAZN, if you're a boxing fan, I think you're mad not to get it. Okay, but still, for an opening show, very, very let down. There was a lot of hype, a lot of build-up to get Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados. Very underwhelming. Kid Galahad versus Jazz Dickens would have been far more acceptable as the opening show. Is Eddie Hearn going to change it? Is he going to bin off Granados? Of course he's not. Again, he's got the blinkers on. That's what he's got. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised that DAZN gave this a green light. Maybe this was part of the deal, that they can't interfere. And that's going to be a little bit worrying. If Eddie Hearn, if this is the best that he could come out with, that's worrying going forward, isn't it? That is worrying going forward. And a lot of people will look at Sky Sports and go, actually, I think the way that you guys forced Eddie Hearn's hand on certain situations was probably right. Because if you give him a free hand, you're going to get poor shows. Price point, £1.99 or not, it's about the quality. And I think a lot of people do feel that for £1.99, we're getting £1.99's worth of value on it. For me, I mean, I'm looking forward to certain fighters. I mean, I love Fabio Wardley. I think that Savannah Marshall and that as well. I love to see them. Babic versus Bennett would be okay if Bennett was more active. That's for sure. I think that Johnny Fisher versus Josh Sandland, that would be an interesting one if Josh Sandland hadn't spent the last few months getting himself down to light heavyweight. It was only a couple of weeks ago that he was posting out pictures that he's now light heavyweight, with Dave Allen been helping him get down to that kind of weight for his next fight now to be in with a heavyweight. So I mean, talk about, it's going to be a massive weight difference, and the only way that Josh Sandland can make heavyweight now is by eating a lot. So he's going to go into that fight not in the best condition. Okay. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I think a lot of you do feel the same. Again, £1.99, of course, you can't complain about it. It's not about that. It's not about me having a dig at Eddie Hearn. I don't think it's about anybody really having a dig about Eddie Hearn, although some people will just damn him no matter what he does. I mean, if he'd have given you Joshua versus Usyk as the opening one for £1.99 on DAZN, people will still complain. Okay, but the truth is, the opening show is poor, and it's a little bit worrying that Eddie Hearn can't see it, or he thinks the fans are stupid. I don't know. Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.